All right, I'm here with Steve Woods, fast qualifier in the vintage modifieds. So Steve, longtime racer here at Evergreen. Last time we saw you here was in street stocks. Jumping over to the vintage modifieds. How you liking it so far?
I love it, man. It's just a little different experience, a little faster. A lot more tire, a lot more grip on the track, and it's been a lot of fun so far.
So this is going to be the first time that a lot of people are getting to see these unique cars out on the track. Kind of give an idea of what's the type of range of cars that we're going to see here today.
Well, we got most of them are like 30s coupes bodies. They're all old late models, old left-hander chassis, and they're all got stock front clips on them. It's a real fun class, a lot of good guys, and just been a lot of fun.
Okay, so you're the fast qualifier. Do you start in the back with the vintage modifieds when you're the fast qualifier?
Yeah, we should have a full invert tonight, and I will start last.
All right, so is it kind of a wait and see kind of attitude in this class? Because as I remember the last time watching the street stocks, you're pretty aggressive going to the front. So is that wait and see, or is it get to the front as fast as you can here?
Well, you just got to pick and choose your spots through traffic. I'm usually pretty good about getting through traffic fast, but we ain't gonna push nobody out of the way or get in anybody. So we'll do it as clean as we can and get to the front fast, hopefully.
All right, you're in for a treat with the vintage modifieds today.
Thank you and welcome back. Steve, if you want to buy or sell a home, I'd suggest you call Lynette Gam and ask about the Homes for Heroes program at Remax Elite. That's Remax Elite in Snohomish. Ask for Team Gam.
I got to tell you, over the course of working out here for as long as I have, and you've been out here forever, you get to meet some really cool people that have become partners of this place. And Lynette Gam is absolutely a sweetheart, and she does such good work. She does so much good community stuff. She's just the best, and glad she's back. All right, the Northwest Vintage Modifieds are coming up, and you saw that car that Steve Woods is bringing out. That thing is nuts. But here's the lineup. In the number 5, Steve Lundquist. In the number 24 is George Chambers. Craig Forney in the 27X, and Mike Clother in car number 7.
Starting in the third row inside the 22 cars, you said it's Steve Woods on the inside, and outside of him, it's Ken Kalschmidt in the 47 car. Ken has driven a lot of different things, clear up to super late models and NASCAR Northwest Tour. Ken is, I think, just out there having some fun. In the fourth row inside the number 1 car, it's Chris Cook, and outside of him, in the 88 car, it's Robert Rux.
Now, Robert Rux in the 88 has been running these cars for a long time. And he is just, every one of these guys, and yeah, there's only 8 cars in the field, but each one of these 8 guys, 8 teams, just absolutely love doing what they do. And how much better does it get than that?
You're right. And one of the cars that was out earlier today had a little bit of mechanical issues, and we don't see in the field, is driven by Vince Conwell. And Vince and his family raced back in the day bombers here. Vince had a late model, the old Husky colors. His brother was from the University of Washington, played professional football. It looks like we're getting ready to go green.
All right, here we go. It is out, and we are underway, and you can kind of see from that, especially that shot right there, how really cool these things are. And it is always neat to have new guys coming into the series, and one of them is in the number 5, and that's Steve Lundquist, who is a great racer on the 38s, as he was racing in the truck series back with the Western Washington Racing Association back in the day. So I'm hoping that's the same one. I'm 100% positive it is. Really a sweetheart of a guy, and good to see him back out there and having fun with this crew.
Well, and these cars look old. The running gear of these cars are up to date. It's the modern stuff. It's the body that they put on them that makes them look like they're that vintage type car. And there's, I'm going to guess, some bragging rights out there. You've got Craig Forney, Ken Kalschmidt, and Vince Conwell I talked about earlier. Those guys have been friends forever, and I would think that loser buys the beer, whatever happens today,
It was so cool seeing a guy like Ken Kalschmidt and Craig Forney and Vince Conwell get into these things, because, as Tom mentioned, these guys have driven virtually every type of asphalt race car that you can do. And one guy in particular, Ken Kalschmidt, is an absolute wizard at car setups. the guy has got such a great engineering mind, and he can see what a car is doing and really feel it. And this has kind of allowed him to blow the dust off of some of those skills, and it's just fun to have him out here.
You're right, and we're coming down to complete lap 5. It's Craig Forney still in the lead, followed by Steve Woods, Ken Kalschmidt, Steve Lundquist, and George Chambers. And George Chambers is another one of those guys. He and his brother both ran for a number of years down at the old Spanaway Speedway in Tacoma that's gone.
Wow.
And the Chambers family ran up here for a number of years back in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. So I'm going to guess that George is another one of those who went on the diet, lost a few pounds, got back in that uniform.
Yeah.
He's out there having a great time.
You saw it there as they came out of lap number 4, a new leader, Steve Woods, in that gorgeous Chevrolet sedan as he came out of turn 4. You can tell by the shot, and that's a very cool camera shot too, that these guys have got a really pretty good amount of horsepower behind them.
Yeah, you're right. And it kind of looks like Steve Woods is in like a 1955,
It looks-
56
yeah,
Chevy.
looks that
Can
way.
you imagine someone said, what are you going to do with that? You're going to restore it? No, I'm going to turn it into a race car.
You know, this kind of gets back to what the car that we saw last week, and we'll see coming up next week too, in our Street Stock series, the car that Dave Lund put together. And I was trying to explain that to somebody. I mean, you have to see this thing. And the car that Steve Woods is driving falls into the same category. It's so cool to see guys starting to get creative with these things.
You're right. As we're coming down to lap 10, about a third of the way through the race, Ken Kalschmidt sliding in that number 2 spot. Forney, who led there early on, now back to the 3rd spot, followed by George Chambers, Steve Lundquist, Mike Clothier, Robert Rux, and Chris Wood.
Craig Forney is another one of those guys who's been in this racket for years and years and years. Another great car setup guy. And like Tom had mentioned, a lot of these cars, even with the old bodies on them, are old late model cars, old Northwest Tour chassis, that just, still are as solid as a rock. Obviously, by the times that these guys are putting in there, I mean, they're all pretty close. The 1752, the 17.9, the top 3 in the 17s, and George Chambers in that 4th spot.
You're right. And we just completed lap 12, which means there's 8 to go. 20 laps making up the distance for the Vintage Modifieds here at Evergreen Speedway.
And you got to know that there's quite a few other types of these cars that are out there. This is, I believe, the second time these guys have raced in 2020. I believe they have put on an event over at Wenatchee. They love to run at that track over in East Wenatchee, the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. But they enjoy coming out here to Evergreen Speedway too. They'll be here 2 or 3 more times in 2020. And I think you're going to see probably a couple more cars coming up as we see Steve Woods making his way underneath and out of 4. Here comes a nice battle for position, and that is the number 5 car of Steve Lundquist in the 4th spot. Just turned to 18.290. We're coming up on 5 to go.
You bet. Just getting ready to say, Kalschmidt was closing in a little bit there. His times were a tenth or 2 quicker than Steve Woods. Steve Woods gotten by that lap traffic that was kind of holding him up.
Yeah.
And now is starting to extend that lead just a little bit. And as soon as I say that, of course, guess who turns a better lap? It's Kalschmidt.
Of course. You got it figured out. But these cars have just, they're so much fun to see the creativity that they put into them. The paint jobs and the schemes are kind of old school. Love that number 47 Ken Kalschmidt car. I mean, they're so easy to spot, and that thing just is so fun to watch go around. And I really hope we get about 4 to 6 more of these cars, because they put on a great show when there's some good competition. We're winding it down here with our first appearance on Home Track Heroes of our Northwest Vintage Modifieds. It is Steve Woods in the lead. He's got 2 to go right now. Ken Kalschmidt in the 2nd spot, Craig Forney in 3rd, followed by Steve Lundquist, George Chambers, Mike Clothier, Robert Rux, and Chris Cook. So good to have these guys out here.
You're right. A number of years ago, Ken Kalschmidt came from Marion, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
No one had ever heard or seen of him. He was here a couple of weeks, and everybody figured this guy out. He was fast. He had a great late model. The white flag is out. That means 1 to go in this 20-lap race for our Vintage Modifieds.
Very familiar position for Steve Woods to be in that number 22 car. Just a different style of car, as he has pulled this stunt off many times in our Northwest Motorsports Street Stock Series, but gets the win tonight here at Evergreen Speedway on Home Track Heroes. First time that the Northwest Vintage Modifieds have been on Home Track Heroes and CW11. We're going to get them up here, and they're going to talk to Derek and get their trophy presentations, find out how the race went for these guys. Let's take it down trackside to Derek Hobbs.
Third place, I have Craig Forney. So you started a little bit towards the back, fought your way through to get up to third place. Kind of walk me through the race.
Yeah, we had problems all day long. The car was really slick getting in, and spun out just about every time I was out there. And we made some wholesale changes before the race, and it was better, but the tires were chattering. If I got out of the groove or drove in a little too hard, the tires were chattering, and I couldn't put enough laps together. I haven't raced enough to really get these cars figured out. So.
Well, if you haven't raced that much, you end up in third. That probably says good things. So, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh yeah, I'd like to thank Vince Conwell. He's down in Arizona right now with his family. He has a 4-year-old granddaughter that's battling cancer. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So, Northwest Concrete Cutting, King's Transmission in Seattle, and my wife. So.
All right, Craig Forney in third place. All right, second place in the Vintage Modifieds is Ken Kultschmidt, and you were really, really, really trying hard to catch Steve there. I saw you kind of picking different lines and trying to pick up some real estate there. Walk me through that.
Well, Steve's really tough here. He's got a lot of laps on this racetrack, and I knew he's fast today. I tried everything I could to stay with him, but car was a little tight. This is the second time I've ran that car. Once at Wenatchee is the first time I've been here with that car. So we're still learning and learning on that car. And yeah, it was a good race. Trying to keep him honest though.
So when you're kind of walk people through that, like when you're trying to make up ground, are you picking out different lines, or was it you're just trying to hit your spots that you know that you think you're fastest, or were you trying different things?
Car was really tight really tight in 3 and 4, and pretty good in 1 and 2. So I could gain on him in 1 and 2. 3 and 4, I just had a hard time getting it in and getting the thing to rotate. It just would not rotate down there, and I tried going in higher, tried going in lower. Nothing was working, so I got to change a little bit of something for that.
All right, who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank my wife and kids for having an absentee dad sometimes while I'm working on these things. I'd like to thank Vince Conwell of Northwest Concrete Cutting, who helps me out with these cars and usually drives the 27. And Vintage Modified, Evergreen Speedway for having us and having this event, because in this times it's hard to have events. So really appreciate Evergreen Speedway.
All right, second place for Ken. Just finished the Vintage Modifieds. We have Steve Woods here. Steve, set fast time. You made your way pretty quickly to the front. What were you thinking at the start of that race?
My line just opened up and I was able to get up front early. Ken was coming. If he would have got there first, I would have had a hard time getting around him. But I don't know, it was a fun race, man.
Yeah, it looked like he was really, really trying hard. He was searching for a line, looking to see how he could pick up some time on you. What were you thinking just when you got the lead like that and you have somebody that you can see gaining on you a little bit?
I'll just keep a couple car lengths and we're good. So that's all I was worried about. I saw him throw it in a couple times trying to make it stick, but keep a couple car lengths in front of him, we're all right.
All right, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, my dad. I couldn't do this without him. He's always helped me work on the cars, building my motors, and Rick Villiard helped me build this car. Finance most of it. Just an awesome vehicle that we put together here, and my wife, of course. She would have killed me if I didn't say her, and I think that's about it, man.
All right.
Oh, one more. First day electric as well.
All right, Steve Woods, first place.